Hey, um, just read a report. I didn't actually search for this. It sort of came up um, as a link, and it's troubling. And I would say it makes me angry, but actually, my feeling at the moment is not so much anger, although it is discussing what I've just read, but kind of despair. So I'll just read out the report then, say some thoughts on this, express some thoughts on this. This is about war graves desecrated in West London. Um, War graves in a cemetery in West London dedicated to Australians who died in World War One have been defaced with spray paint. The picture shows these headstones. Um, the vandalism isn't really audible. It's like blue spray paint. Sort of looks like letters, but there's nothing in it that would give anything away as to who could be responsible. It says Harefield Churchyard in Hillingdon contains 120 World War One graves, mostly those of Australians who died in the Australian Auxiliary Hospital in Harefield Park. A local councillor said the graves had been found defaced on Sunday morning. The Met Police are investigating and described the crime as a wrong, which is a big understatement. Jane Palmer, a local Conservative councillor in Hillingdon, said she'd been in tears at the discovery. It is the second such incident this year, according to the Uxbridge Gazette, which reported that on the eve of the Gallipoli Cemetery centenary, I should say, a memorial in the cemetery was sprayed with paint and the Australian flagpole cut in two. The first Australian Auxiliary Hospital, which opened in 1915 and closed in December 1918, contained over 1,000 beds for casualties from France. The cemetery at Harefield, which also contains 6 World War II graves, is thought to be unique in its scroll-shaped headstones chosen by the staff and patients at the hospital. I'm just looking at that actually. The headstones are sort of shaped like scrolls. Um, I think this is an utterly reprehensible crime, and I know there are people who will downplay this sort of crime because there's no physical violence involved, no one, but it's not a victimless crime because I don't know if the low lifes responsible for this thought, well, it's so far back, no one's going to care. I don't know if it was politically driven. There's nothing in the graffiti that would suggest, give anything away. There's no like, it's inaudible. It's just like blue paint marks. I don't know whether this was selfish low lifes doing this when they were drunk, or people on drugs not knowing what they were doing, or if it was politically motivated. But whatever the reason, it's disgusting. And I hope someone's held to account for this. But if there's no CCTV in the cemetery, I'm not sure how they're going to do that. What I would say is if you live in this area of West London, just do the right thing. If you know who done this, just go to the Met and report. Because I think showing that sort of disrespect to someone's resting place, especially brave men who died in a war, is beyond the pale. It's disgusting. Um, my great uncle served in the First World War. He was killed at the Battle of Passchendaele, and I never knew the man personally. Um, I don't even know that much about him. But if I found out that his memorial at the Menin Gate was vandalised, I'd be furious because I think it's absolutely reprehensible. Um, I'm not religious, but I am somewhat spiritual, and I believe that this sort of vandalism isn't just vandalism. I believe it's disrupting the dead. And if people cannot get peace in a cemetery, that's, maybe people could say I'm being superstitious or whatever, but I think attacking gravestones is just disgusting. It is, and I've heard of other cases where murder victims have had their headstones scrawled with graffiti and so on. It's not necessarily because whoever done it is targeting that individual personally. Sometimes these are just selfish fucks who just don't really care and they're they don't take any responsibility for their actions, whether they're drunk or whether they're anyway. That's I really hope that the headstones can be cleaned up. I hope there's a way to clean that. I don't know what sort of material they use, but it's replacing the headstones would be extremely costly. I don't know how much it would cost to like remove the paint, but I really hope it is. People might say, "Oh, well, it was 100 years ago that these people died," but that is not the point. The graves could be 300 years old. They could be 1,000 years old. It would be the same principle. And sometimes modern graves are disturbed in this way. I think it is, in my opinion, it's a very serious crime, and I believe there should be very severe consequences for it. Um, I believe when these culprits are caught, if it's a political crime, that's different because then we could be looking at hate crime. It could be motivated by anti-Australian sentiments. I don't know. But if it's a case of just mindless jobs, not caring, they should be forced to go through some sort of education course to see the sacrifices these men made. Um, and they should be made to feel guilty as hell. And then they should be forced to clean it up, then do very lengthy unpaid community service. Um, Custodial sentence, maybe not, but I do think there needs to be serious penalty for this. If you know anything, the reason I'm putting this out here is because spreading news. That's one of the useful tools that the internet has. If you live in the Hillingdon area, have any idea about this, please just do the right thing and go to the police. You can do it anonymously. This is disgusting. Bear in mind, these are people's ancestors, people's great grandfathers, and it's it's not a victimless crime because if that was your great great grandfather, it would be very hurtful to see that. Um, I think it's utterly despicable. From the photograph, I could see one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight. At least nine have been damaged. So that's nine people whose memories are tarnished. It's disgusting. Whatever you think of war, or whatever you think of Australia, or whatever you think of, I'm not going to make conjecture about what, I suspect on this occasion it's not political, it's just stupid yobs not caring, but regardless, it's disgusting. So, yeah, I really hope they find the people responsible and they need to be punished very strongly because it's disgraceful. Um, by the way, I don't sort of agree with the naming and shaming thing necessarily. Well, no, I retract that. On this occasion, I do. The reason I brought that up is because a few years ago, there was a fiasco over a student who urinated on a war memorial. Now, I thought that was crass at the time, but I think that the response was not right because he was kind of named and shamed and his family were threatening him and all stuff. So I don't want to see that, but this case is different because this was deliberately targeted. On that occasion, that guy was stupid and reckless, and he probably didn't know what he was doing. And I think the university also had to answer for that. But on the grounds that they promoted the binge drinking event. But this looks like I mean, this was a cemetery. It's not like these people have just sprayed a wall. This was a cemetery. They must have known what they were doing. So, throw the book at them. Yeah. Let me know if you have any thoughts. I just take the view that desecrating graves is reprehensible. And that, to me, applies across the board. I would say the same thing about if it was Turkish graves or German graves, enemy forces, because it's desecrating a grave is disgusting. It's